Welcome to the Paradise Paradox.
My name's Kurt Robinson.
And my name's Aaron Battle.
So today we're talking about the factors that could possibly affect the price of Bitcoin. Is it going to shoot to the stars? What will this technology offer us? What kind of strange dystopian world are we heading into where cryptocurrency will not become an option but the only choice that you can make?
Do you want the answer?
Sure, why not?
We're going to paradise.
Cool.
No, blockchain's the future. I think we nailed it. 4 pivotal points on what is going to drive the price of Bitcoin.
Yep. So we talk about the investment that's going into it currently, the new technology that investment is developing, the supply of Bitcoin, the current banking system, why it sucks, anal fissure, and public awareness or a shift in consciousness which could drive the price over the coming years. So head on over to theparadiseparadox.com. You can look through our episodes there. We have a lot of cool interviews with Andreas Antonopoulos, Diego Gutierrez, Saldivar, who else? Jeff Berwick of the Dollar Vigilante. And you can head on there and give us a little donation, a little Bitcoin. We appreciate it very much, even if it's just a few cents or, a quarter. We love it because it does mean that you're showing us your affection and what the show means to you. So we really do appreciate that. Also, you can buy some T-shirts on there with real money, Bitcoin, gold, and silver. So represent your inner desire for a world without central banks and demonstrate it to the whole entire world in a flippant manner. Then head on over to Facebook. You press like on Facebook, hover over the like button, press subscribe, get notifications rather, hover over YouTube, press like on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, on iTunes, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict. Keep in touch, leave us a comment on the website, theparadiseparadox.com. And also, we would like to see you join us where, Aaron?
Join us in Acapulco. We're going to an Acapulco event, which is mid-February for a 3-day weekend.
Yep.
Where we're going to talk about all things.
Talk about Bitcoin, talk about voluntarism, crypto anarchy, changing the world, one world at a time, and changing the minds of individuals to come over to a peaceful way of living, peaceful anarchism or voluntarism. So we'd like to see you there. It's a great vibe. Last year we went. It was incredible. Aaron's mind got blown into small fragments of stardust. He wasn't expecting that, but
it just happened again, thinking about what I'm going to talk to you about. No, I wasn't expecting to meet so many cool people. So, if you register, if you're cool, I'll see you there.
Yeah. So a whole range of peaceful people of various disciplines like massage and yoga teachers and just travelers, adventures, and a lot of great speakers as well. So check that out. Anarchapulco.com, ANARCHAPULCO.com, and use the promotional code PARADISE and you'll get a 10% discount. That one's on us. So, come say hi. I'll buy you a beer. And thanks very much for listening. Let's get into it. Paradise rocks your socks, enter your doors, open in locks. Make sure that you're not wearing 1988 Reeboks because it's a Paradise Paradox about to jam this shit into your brain. Talking about some Bitcoin price factors. What do you think, Aaron?
All I can see is Stewie. Cool whip.
Is that how I sound?
No, I
finally got a glimpse of how the world sees me. Now I know they see me as a 2 to 3 year old animated character that's a possible latent homosexual. Interesting.
Think about what you can get away with.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's just jump straight into this.
Okay.
So today we want to talk about some of the fundamentals that cause the Bitcoin, some of the factors that contribute to the Bitcoin price, and things that are coming up in the future that we should think about that could potentially affect the Bitcoin price. So it's a topic that I love talking about because I love to speculate with this kind of thing. Personally, I believe Bitcoin's going to fly over the moon and keep going. I like to call it space money.
The
right?
bubble never ends. Is that your explanation here? That's your prediction?
Okay, to back what I'm saying, I think Bitcoin's the kind of money that you can buy anything you want with.
Yeah. And
if you got companies that are going to go out into space and start mining asteroids, well, you could probably buy that stuff too. So, this is space money.
Okay, so you'd contract a space probe that's picking up precious metals off a asteroid and bringing them back down to Earth. So they're already pre-sold by the time it hits land.
Well, yeah, but then you'd be as long as you didn't bring too much, you wouldn't. Otherwise, you'd be crashing the price of your own product. It'd be like sending a space drone to that planet, that diamond planet, and chip off a chunk.
The diamond planet. I know the one you mean. I've been there a couple of times. It's a nice place for a holiday.
Yeah, I just don't know what color it is. I don't trust those NASA photos.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So we're trying to break it down here into about 4 main categories, and it's difficult to try to say what's really going to be the main factor, but it's probably going to be some of these, a combination of these, definitely at least one.
Well, they're all joined. I mean.
They're all they have this incestuous relationship, so
it's kind of 5 fingers. They all connect. They all connect.
Is that what happens? The product of an incestuous relationship ends up with 5 fingers. I didn't know that. You learn something new every day.
Aren't they your sisters?
Sure, whatever you say. So the first thing I think is first item on the agenda, Mr. Battle, is venture capital and angel capital. So venture capital means there's big companies that are going to swoop in, look for startups, and they're going to throw money at them, hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly even millions of dollars, and those startups are going to take that money and hopefully make the venture capitalist something. So there's a lot of this money floating around, and I guess that ties into some of our later points. But an angel investor is a similar thing, where the angel generally has his own money, and he generally provides more assistance, or she generally provides more assistance to the startup company than a VC does. So more hands-on, and generally at an earlier stage.
Yeah. So the thing to consider here is that the money that's going into these startups in Bitcoin are about getting more people to be involved in Bitcoin. I mean, the majority of them, or about creating value for people that are disrupting other industries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So providing some service which maybe they could do before, or maybe they couldn't do before, or maybe they do more efficiently. So to give you an idea, I mean, the potential of this technology, we had made this fun little list of possible uses for Bitcoin, and I didn't realize, we just sat here brainstorming, thinking about all of the possible things it could be used for, and there's a lot of them. So do you want to just we'll rattle them off one for one?
Okay, well, the first one's money. So the reserve currency, central banks and storing wealth is going to be shifted.
Yeah. So which, yeah, we're talking about central banks who maybe traditionally hold gold or silver, or these days they hold other countries' national currency. And last month we saw a little article talking about Barbados. The Central Bank of Barbados is considering holding Bitcoin. The analysts have recommended it. They say the amount that exists the amount that is circulating through the Barbados economy is the approximate amount that we should be aiming for when it comes to reserves. So, if that hasn't already started, it's kind of on its way. And this is a market with billions and billions of dollars in it.
Yeah, and there's also other cryptocurrencies as well that are in the mix here. So, when we say, Bitcoin, blockchain, there's other coins, and, banks are already using, there's a handful of banks that are already using the Ripple system exchange, and there's no reason why they couldn't hold money there as well. Although it's hard to say where they are. By the fall in price, it doesn't appear that they are hiding money there. So
like you were saying, so Bitcoin looks pretty good at the moment, but maybe Bitcoin is going to get knocked off its pedestal sometime in the next 5 years, and maybe something better is going to come along. But we're talking about cryptocurrency in general, the disruptive power of it, how it's going to affect the economy. So it won't necessarily be Bitcoin, but it could. Be. It's got the largest network effect of any blockchain right now. People are jumping on board, jumping out of fiatlink.com and all kinds of crazy crap.
Yeah, and banking buildings. But I think there's room for more than one crypto.
Yeah. Okay, so the second thing, it's related. So instead of reserves in central banks, is personal savings. So again, it's about storing wealth, and at any time there's millions and millions of dollars in any savings account in a lot of countries, at least in developed ones.
So we're talking about people like, well, anyone can store wealth in Bitcoin or savings or speculate or whatever you want, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people, especially say in developing countries, say you've got a couple of Kenyan shillings, Zimbabwe dollars in your pocket, you don't know what they're going to fall to next day, or Venezuelan bolívares. It's a mystery. You don't know how much money you're going to lose, but almost certainly you're going to lose some of the value of the purchasing power, that is. So Bitcoin can provide a safe haven where the fiat currency or the national currency isn't up to scratch, and that's something which, as we noticed at a BitConf, there was a lot of Argentinians there, and obviously it's because the Argentine peso is losing about 10 to 20% per year, so it gives them an option.
Yeah, well, that's because their situation. I mean, 20%'s crazy.
Yeah.
But all fiat currencies are losing ground against each other. So just because you might be holding dollars or pounds or euro, it's like you still might want to store some of your wealth in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Not that we're financial advisors. We're not giving you financial advice. Okay, what's the next?
Number 3, we're talking about international remittances.
Yeah. And
the first one that jumps to mind is Mexicans working in the US and sending back those hard-earned dollars, by a service, by like Western Union, which charge something like 10% or more. I don't know. I haven't used them. But it's when you're sending money back that you've worked hard for to send back to your family, and you're losing 10% just to send them money, obviously it's something that's going to be much cheaper. It's going to be preferable. And using Bitcoin is, only a fraction, nothing compared to that. How much is a Bitcoin transaction? It's like
you pay per data rather than per amount of currency. So you pay like let's see, is it a millibit or a tenth of a millibit? Anyway, it's very little. Yeah, it's a tenth of a millibit.
Yeah,
I believe.
I've never
transaction
worried about it. It just, you make the transaction. It's like you lose like maybe 10 cents
Yeah, even less than a penny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mini.
Yeah. Cool. And so a few weeks ago we published an interview with Diego Gutierrez Saldivar, and he was talking about Sistema D, which is a system or a program which is intended to help people in impoverished communities. So again, it's about saving their wealth, storing their wealth, also about interacting by trade with people that are outside the immediate community. And that's a new market that this kind of thing opens up. The next one, I guess I'll just read that out because it's related to the international remittances, capturing all of the M-Pesa market. So M-Pesa is a currency based on mobile minutes used in Africa. But the thing is, it's like similar to Western Union. It can cost quite a bit to send money, and generally can't send it internationally, so that's a problem.
It's actually much bigger than what I thought. It's something like 30% of the GDP is traded by M-Pesa.
Wow! Cool.
So if Bitcoin was to capture that, I don't know how much. I think Kenya is probably the biggest.
Yeah.
The biggest culprit of this M-Pesa.
Kenya, Ghana, yeah.
But I mean that's a lot of trade, and it's because that's all they've got to use. Mm-hmm. So I mean the infrastructure's there. They've got phones. Once they get their wallets are set up on their phone and they're able to start trading. It's like why use money? It is magic. It's it's a good thing. Okay, so this kind of goes into like micropayments as well, because there's no the fees to transfer money often makes it so difficult that you wouldn't send the money. Like if I was to send you a few bucks and I wanted to do that by a banking system, I'm talking about Australia to Mexico.
Yep.
I ended up going home and I owed a mate a beer. It's like, I'll send you a couple bucks so you can fix yourself up and buy yourself that beer, except it's going to cost me $20 banking fee to do an international transfer. So that just cost me $22 for a beer that I should have fixed up before I left. So that's why micropayments using Bitcoin is going to be, it's opening up a whole new world of, micropayments don't really exist prior to Bitcoin because it was useless.
Really? I mean, you can send things on PayPal. No, PayPal has a 1% fee on gifts to friends. So you send your friend $3, they'll charge you 3 cents, which, it's not, I guess it's not really a lot. So I guess that's not going to be a driving factor. But then you have things like with ProTip, this browser plugin headed by a team including Chris Ellis, who was at the forefront of Feathercoin. And his idea is he's always been about promoting tipping in cyberspace. So you have this browser plugin in Chrome, and it automatically picks up all the Bitcoin addresses in sites that you visit. And then at the end of the week, you can say you put $5 into your little ProTip account or your ProTip wallet, and it'll distribute them to those sites according to the amount of time you spend on those sites, or according to your own choice. And so, by the way, thanks for all the micropayments we've been receiving, among larger payments.
I didn't realize that it could keep track of all the sites you've been to and then just chip everyone a little piece.
Yeah, it's pretty handy, right? It's good
I thought
for
you had to
artists
allocate or something.
No, it'll do it automatically if you want it to.
That's really cool. That's like really sharing some love value.
Pretty cool. So for all the artists out there, you can or musicians and people selling the works maybe on DeviantArt or something like that, you could get all of your fans to start tipping you using ProTip. And generally I think generally sometimes people will be stingy, but a lot of the time I think people genuinely want to tip people for their good work. And the easier it makes it, the more that tipping economy starts to get accelerated, which is pretty cool.
Okay, number 7. Now we're talking about crowdfunding. So crowdfunding, I know it's been around longer than crypto, but what crypto does, it allows a level of transparency and ease of payment to a project. So the fact that we can do crowdfunding now with blockchain, things like we've got no commission for services. Is that like using blockchain? Are you saying it's free?
Well, virtually free. You might pay these less than 1% fees, 0.1% or something like that for sending currency to someone. But it's conceivable that someone could invent a decentralized crowdfunding service using the blockchain, and people could put up their plea on there and say what they're going to do, and get money from that. And again, it boosts the price, boosts the use of Bitcoin, the adoption. So it's kind of like with the micropayments got a little role to play in that. Similar thing. Yeah.
But the fact that it's with blockchain means that it's transparent, it's trackable. You can see where the money's going. You can even see how the project or the cause, how they spent the money. So all of a sudden, if you're not, if you don't trust this group, I don't know, maybe you don't want to send the money in the first place, but you see that they're using this new technology where we can see where it's going, then people are going to be more inclined to share some of that money or that value in getting some projects off the ground.
Yep. So you had this example, like a hypothetical case of a public works project. Tell us what you foresee in the crystal ball of Mr. Battle.
Well, it's because I like to think about how we can do things better.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously around here we can see government doesn't really work too well. So I'm thinking, there's a lot of people in big cities that live in apartment buildings or townhouses, and they don't really have areas for play, for children to play in that are comfortable, or sporting grounds, or the facilities are just below standard. If we were to have a city and a company in that city that decided we could do something about this, but of course they don't expect me to do it out of my own pocket. Let's take some of the park areas or green areas and let's do something with this. So I thought about what's a city that has fallen to the side away from government services, and you think of Detroit. I haven't checked in on how those guys are going, but
they're going great.
Hopefully, all good. Probably better than us. And that, say, you got Detroit. You've picked out a couple of big grass areas, parks, and say, we're going to redevelop this. Yeah. The companies are going to come up with a few different plans, put them up on the website, and say, you can now donate to this cause to have this project completed, crowdfunding. But then better than that, not only can you add or send money to us, you can also choose which design you want based on just being involved and being, as well as, for example, you send money through. As a reward or as a gift, they give you a token, and you can send that token to another PayPal, another account, something in PayPal. Bitcoin, you just send a token to a Bitcoin wallet. Yeah. And whichever wallet's got the biggest amount of tokens is like, bam, there's your project.
Yep.
And things happen, not because we need, a government body to make things happen, but because people can anonymously get together and choose, how they want their community to look or what services they need, and things like that. But then, I'm also thinking of like that's on a bigger scale. But let's say you've got a band, and the band wants to choose, the album cover or something. There's no reason why you can't support the band and through a crowdfunding project interact. It's bringing the community to work as a team. which I think it's been a good idea. But as long as you got people that are running the show, not everyone's going to feel satisfied, or at least not feel like they got their say.
Yeah. So that kind of ties into the next point about smart contracts. So say with these services here, with these public works projects, Green Detroit or voluntary taxes and artists, you're going to have a smart contract set up acting as an escrow, and once the limit gets reached, the cutoff point or the point where they have enough money to fund the project, the money can automatically go to the contractor. But if it doesn't get reached by a certain time, it can return the Bitcoin to the people before, and so it's starting to look a lot better than paying your land rates. So you could use smart contracts. Say you have an autonomous vehicle and you're in a rush. You tell the car to hurry up, so it starts paying people in front of you. So they pull aside. Their autonomous vehicles accept the money and pull aside because they're not in a rush. And you pay for the privilege of getting a nice clear road for you to head to the airport. Or even, let's see, there's a video I saw about cars that connect together, and maybe one of them is providing power and it's doing this microtransaction, paying by the second to get the motor or the engine power of a car in front of it. That's another one. Yeah,
Uber does not offer clear roads. They only offer the ride.
Clear roads, yeah.
It's like, I'm going clear roads. See the airport in 20 minutes. That'd be killer.
Yeah.
Cool. So number 9, we're talking about copyright hashing. Yeah. So I think this comes into play with time stamping, being able to declare, we're talking about. This is huge. It's about being able to say, this happened or this was authenticated.
Yep, to register an event, register a work, so you know that somebody uploaded a certain work to the internet at a particular time, and then there's this permanent record, so everybody knows who did it, and nobody can claim, oh, that's my JPEG. I drew that in Paint. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously put your QR code on there, so you can get reimbursed.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. So if someone likes the artwork, it can be connected, hashed to the blockchain, and the blockchain references a wallet, and then using Pro Tip, you automatically send this person money because you like checking out their hand drawn nude pictures of Betty White. And similar thing with title deed hashing, so you can demonstrate a moment when a property was sold, and it's a permanent record. Again, it's on the blockchain, distributed, handed out to everybody who wants to get a copy of those transactions, and so everybody knows who owns what. Apparently, in Honduras right now, they're actually working on this kind of system, registering deeds on the blockchain, so they can avoid the excessive corruption that goes on there. So the rumor is, what happens in Honduras, you see a nice house, a beach house. Beach house? Is Honduras landlocked? That's lacking of geographical knowledge. Okay, so you see a nice house, and you go to the titles office and you say, hey, I'll give you $5,000 if you transfer that property into my name, and they change the database, and then you get a nice property for a tenth of its value. But that would not be possible. So we're finding ways to keep government accountable for their actions. So bureaucrats can't just be corrupt as they are in many, many countries in the world.
I'm going to say almost all of them, but then.
Yeah, every country in the world.
Who doesn't like GIFs? Well, just to jump on the end of that hashing, I remember the first, of course, this is like fundamental how the blockchain all works.
Yeah.
But when it actually like stuck in my head, this idea exploded as, okay, we're talking about a record for the rest of time. Like, the Egyptians didn't even have this stuff. This is totally new. And it's already, 5-7 years old. So, okay, there's not many people that are pushing things into the blockchain to record stuff just yet. But what I realized, actually, I was sitting in one of the Bitcoin talks at an Acapulco when this exploded. This isn't about the future. Mm-hmm. This is completely about the past.
Okay. What do you mean?
Well, like the fact that we're going to put something into the blockchain and it's going to be there for the rest of time. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, at the time you don't need to know. Like, you just do it because you need to look at it in the future. Okay. So, I mean, you were there with me and I kept talking about trends. Like, dude, it's about the trends.
Which trends?
Well, the activity on Bitcoin and the use of the blockchain. Uh-huh. The trends. It's like there's no point looking at the trends now. It's when you can only look into the past, uh-huh. and you'll be able to see the complete collective psychology of the adoption of Bitcoin or people or community. Uh-huh. And it was just like this is kind of a scary weapon. So who can?
Because your whole life will be on record.
Who can decrypt the blockchain? Because of course it's all just blonde brunette.
Yeah,
so just code.
Okay. Well, that's a question. I have this question. Like, what if quantum computing comes out in the next few years and people are just like, oh, yeah, encryption, Bitcoin encryption, SHA-256, who cares? Bam! And then they like just all of the pieces of ones and zeros just fall to the ground, and Neo stands up and steals everybody's shit. So
he's a nice guy. He wouldn't do that.
Okay, maybe it was.
He's a superhero.
Trinity.
But
okay,
there's always evil Neo.
Right. Which the Matrix 4. Okay, sure. So these are all the factors in terms of the possible uses for Bitcoin, which all of the venture capitalists and angels are going to be sniffing out some of these opportunities. So much room for growth, so much potential to use these technologies for things which maybe nobody's ever seen before, or turn them into take a new twist on an old lemon, so we had a few little figures here.
Just before you jump, did you mean to miss the last one?
Okay,
because this is a pretty big deal. When we're talking about peer-to-peer lending.
Okay, we're going to take a break actually.
Cool.
Press like on YouTube, press like on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Pocket Casts. Follow us on Twitter at BattleAZ, at Trouble Bubble, and show your support at donate.theparadiseparadox.com.
What's point 11? Lucky number. Legs 11.
You should have only had 10. Now it's weird. But it's a good one. Peer-to-peer lending or peer-to-peer lending systems. Uh-huh. I mean, this is where where banks can step aside and you can borrow money just from a collective group. I mean, there's companies that are offering loans, whether it's business loans, personal loans, in crypto. Mm-hmm. To for pretty much for whatever you want. So people that might be able to get the credit due to credit files, might be able to get clean credit organized, but need maybe like a micro loan. Yeah. And you're going to be able to make that happen just because I'm going to say good reputation.
That can be a part of it. Yeah.
But even that's questionable now. But look, just being able to get money, access to money. In the form of a loan, and not have to go to a bank.
Yeah, and not have to go within your own country. So there are peer-to-peer services that exist already, but they're normally heavily regulated. They're regulated as financial institutions, but you get something like bitbond.com, and you can go on there and borrow money from somebody in Zimbabwe or Australia, Scandinavia, wherever you want. And you don't actually have to know where they're from. People tend to say if you have one Bitcoin to lend out, you might lend out, say, 1/100th of a Bitcoin to 100 people and make it up that way. So you distribute risk.
Yeah, I think that's a critical factor here. It's not one bank that decides, should I let Kurt borrow that $10 that he wanted. It's you got 100 people, all over the world. They go, I'll let him borrow, whatever cents he needs each to make up, that complete loan.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you're letting you might have a couple of Bitcoins, and then you're letting hundreds of people all over the world borrow your money. And although some of them might default, I mean, chances are some will. You can afford for maybe 10 or 20%. You budget that into whatever income or interest you're making on these loans.
Yeah. So you set your own risk, and it's definitely not for everybody, but it's something to look at if you want to think about investing your money using Bitcoins to make more Bitcoins. And the other thing is customizable fractional reserve. So normally, a fractional reserve system is so closed off that people don't even know, as customers of a bank, that the money is being used as a fractional reserve to lend out money to other people. There's a lot of videos you can watch on that on YouTube. So say, Zeitgeist or something like that to get yourself more informed. But the thing is, the other thing is there's kind of this, what I think is a misconception that you can't use Bitcoins for fractional reserve banking. I don't think that's true. I think it's just as easy to use Bitcoins for fractional reserve banking as gold for fractional reserve banking, which people did for hundreds of years. So you just have say someone puts in a term deposit in 12 months and the bank is going to pay, say, 10% interest on these 5 Bitcoins, but then they go lend out those 5 Bitcoins to somebody else at 11 or 12% who's starting a business. And of course, the depositor can't access the funds until the end of the term. So in that case, at least there's very little chance of let's see, a run on the bank or a bank collapse, something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean that situation's almost not possible if it's set up correctly, because there'd be limits. Yeah.
If you have all the checks and balances in place and make it public so everybody knows where everybody's money is, you won't have the scene like in It's a Wonderful Life. Where is my money? It's in Sam's house and it's in Sally's house. And that kind of nonsense. So
Sammy and Sally again. Those guys.
What are they doing? Caught behind the bushes smuggling Bitcoins across the Mexican border. So it was a bit difficult to pin down some figures, but these are the figures, kind of questionable sources that we got. We can put the sources in the show notes there. But say this is the figure for VC in 2013. It was the article described it as a paltry $25 million. 2014 went up to $400 million. And then from another source, we had the figure of $1 billion, exceeding $1 billion in 2015. So that's the kind of growth we're looking at. So it's not just nerds in their backyard anymore with startups. These people with serious money putting it where their mouth is and showing the world that yes, they believe in Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So it's not peanuts.
Yeah. So along with that, you've also got all the other companies, traditional companies that are waking up to being able to accept Bitcoins as well. So, the larger business environment is starting to switch onto this as well. So as much as you got companies that are coming out of the woodwork with brand new plans and ideas and projects, I think when you got more companies that are using Bitcoin, along with these 11 reasons why, or 11 reasons? 11 things.
11 uses.
11 avenues. And there's a whole lot more. We busted that out in 20 minutes.
Yeah. So off the top of our heads, we could be entrepreneurial geniuses but we're here talking to you guys. So, yeah. Well, that's let's see. In a quote from Eric Voorhees on Cointelegraph, they sent him a message asking him what he thought the price would be and what the factors would be. And one of the factors was financial institutions realizing Bitcoin is the blockchain, which is, it sounds like kind of a funny thing to say from a Bitcoiner's perspective, but from the banks, for a while they were like, I'm interested in this stuff, but Bitcoin is too risky, and so it will be sold to them. The idea would be sold to the banks as being blockchain technology, but of course the only large-scale implemented blockchain is BTC, and that's this is, according to Voorhees, this is the year they're going to start to recognize that.
Even if Bitcoin doesn't become the number one, or doesn't remain the number one crypto, say in 10 years time, it's still pretty cool to have one to show your kids. I mean, really, there's only 21 million of them.
Yeah.
So with the 7.3 whatever billion people in the world, not everyone's going to have a Bitcoin. So irrespective of their uses. And
put it on a gold chain and flash it around at your bowling club.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Bitcoin. It's funny, but it's
what
true.
What up, cholos? Yeah.
Not everyone's going to have one. Like that gives you, like, just on collector's sake, that's value. We're talking about a rare piece, which brings us to pivotal point number 2 on the value of Bitcoin is the fact that in July this year, it's actually going to half. So
what is going to half?
Okay. We're going to reach that point where half of the Bitcoins. No, we've already gone past that. No, the reward for mining.
Yes,
the reward for mining.
You got it. So right now, the reward for mining is 25 Bitcoins. So every time a Bitcoin miner scores, or a Bitcoin mining pool scores, they get 25 Bitcoins and possibly distributed among the pool. But in July 2016, it's going to halve. So every 10 minutes, there will only be 12.5 Bitcoins being created and unleashed into the wild west of Bitcoin here. Yeah.
But do you really think that's going to make a big difference? I mean, for miners it will, but for the amount of Bitcoins that are circulating on the market.
So it's hard to say because I guess if we really wanted to find out, we'd have to do some analysis and find out how many Bitcoins are mobile and how many just sit in wallets, how many are like essentially dead or taken out of the Bitcoin economy. Because if we could do that, then we could figure out what the liquidity was, and then use that to estimate. But that's beyond my mathematical capabilities.
But you had a pretty good imperfect example.
Yeah. So one example, and I've heard someone mention, is if people heard that OPEC was halving the supply, that is, of oil production, the demand would skyrocket. Now, I don't think that is a perfect analogy for the reason about liquidity, because the thing is, oil disappears when you use it. Bitcoins don't disappear when you use them. Unless they go into somebody's wallet who stores them forever. So it's not a perfect analogy, but you get the kind of idea because we're talking about reducing the production. So demand stays constant, supply is reduced, and that indicates an increase in price. That's some economics 101 for you. Yeah. So possibly we're going to see people factoring that in now that Bitcoiners are a bit more savvy. They might buy more Bitcoins before July because they know that July is going to be the month of halving supply. Yeah,
I think it's pretty safe to say it's going to impact.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. Mm-hmm. It's only 21 million, and those cholos,
15 million at the moment. So
yeah, 15 at the moment. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like half. No, we've already passed half. But this is a big deal. I mean, if you've set up or invested in mining Bitcoins, there's a lot of electricity to run the machines.
Yep.
The farms are massive, and you're only going to be receiving half of your reward per block. That's going to affect your profitability. So if that's your production, you're going to charge more for your products.
Yeah. Especially if you're selling virgin coins. How many is that? 12.5 every 10 minutes, 75 an hour. That's 1,800 a day, as opposed to at the moment it's 3,600, which is about 600. Okay, so 12.5 works out to about 657,000 a year. So the supply going from about 1.3 million, increasing every year to 657,000.
Now you put the current price next to that. That is a lot of money that's not getting produced.
Yes.
It's, it makes it seem like a bigger deal when you talk about how much less money in Bitcoin there's going to be, which is funny because it's really more money for less.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
The price goes up and the supply goes down.
Of course. It's which is interesting because now we're going to go to point number 3, which is the banking system. Now, this is my favorite because
you love the banking system?
No, I do. I like following it. It's like watching a bad movie and you don't know who's going to die first. It's like when you watch what's a movie where everyone in the team gets picked off?
Banking Mask, Bernanke Horror number 6. I think that's the.
I haven't seen
title
it. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's any good or not. But it's okay. The banking system. The banking system set up on fractionally reserve system. So we've been able to essentially rent out something that is yours, is theirs. It's all very tricky. I mean, like you said earlier, probably best to go check it out how that system actually works.
Yeah, check out Zeitgeist or The American Dream. That's another little fun cartoon to watch on YouTube, in case you're not aware of that. But so we've got the central banking, quantitative easing, that is to say printing a buttload of money, increasing the US dollar currency supply by 4 times since 2008. And so the question is about tail risk, about possible hyperinflation, like are dollars going to be worthless, which seems funny to say at the moment because we're watching the ticker on the peso outside the banks and those numbers keep going up. It keeps costing more pesos to buy dollars, and I'm sure you can have the same experience if you're in, say, Russia or Kazakhstan or Australia. Basically every country in the world.
It's a funny group. It's like, some countries that I'm going to say the average person may not have heard of and can assume they're having financial issues. And then Australia, it's in there as well. But then, like you say, it's all countries because what happens is when you increase the money supply by that much, we're talking the exact opposite of what's happening to Bitcoin in July. You're putting more dollars into a system that has the same amount of value. So all of a sudden to expect that your money's worth the same, in the case of tortillas or frijoles, you're going to get a little less, and that's not cool if that's not your decision. And that's why he's the problem, and why Bitcoin's an alternative solution that should be attracting more positive attention. Well, I think it is. I think it's growing, but this possible hyperinflation situation, I know inflation is something that happens all the time. We're kind of just used to it. You know what I mean? 50 cents don't buy what it used to, and we're cool with that. But at what point does that turn into now
Argentina, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Weimar Republic, continental dollar, some famous historical cases
won't happen to me.
The normalcy bias. That's a classic psychological factor. It couldn't happen here. I mean, not now. Well, why not? Why not? So that's a risk to look out for. Yeah, like you said, the supply of bitcoins, the production of the increase in supply is halving, whereas the production of US dollars tends to be increasing or staying the same. So, again, economics 101, supply increases, demand stays more or less constant, the price goes down, which is probably what will happen to the US dollar.
The joke is, you said it increased by 4 times?
Yeah, 4 times since the 2007, 2008 financial collapse. Yep. So
in theory, it should be, 20 cents? Not $1?
Well, it depends. I mean, you can look at, of course, they have the CPI, the Consumer Pricing Index, which will give you some figures, but they tend to do little sneaky things. What do they call them? Hedonization, and like they say, oh, well, the dollar didn't really fall back that much because now you buy a car, but now it has an extra airbag. Or they say, well, people used to buy steak, but now steak's too expensive, so they buy chicken. And you can look at shadowstats.com, and it gives you more information about other ways to calculate a CPI. Okay, capital controls. This is a fun one. So, in Scandinavia, and especially in Sweden, there's this push for a cashless society, negative interest rates. So instead of earning interest on your money, the bank will actually be charging you to keep it in there. And of course, many people would prefer to take that money out and put it in the microwave. But if they tighten the restrictions on cash, move it to more and more towards a cashless society, you can't do that. So the bankers will have you buy the balls, and they can do all sorts of nasty things with your money, stopping you from withdrawing it, which is like the only defense you have against a corrupt banking system.
It makes it feel like, why have it in the first place?
I'm just going to give my money away. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, why not? Just give it away.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not yours. Like money's government debt. Why do you want it anyway? Mm-hmm. It's complicated.
Well, you want
because I like money.
Something as a store of value, a medium of exchange.
No, the interesting thing is going to be whether they can do it.
Make a cashless society.
Yeah.
Well, some reports I've read said they're already on their way, and it's
pretty close.
Like mainly in small towns where people still use cash. Kind of terrible. I mean, it's good for MasterCard and Visa as well. They're like lapping it up. Yeah, that's right. You have to pay with your card. You got no choice, and that's why they get their 5% fees or whatever. China has capital controls as well. So we went through the details of those on a previous episode, but it's they had capital controls, 6 monthly restriction on how much you could withdraw in the 2 second quarters in the last half of last year, and now they kept the same amount for the entire year. I think it was something like that. So it was basically like a few $1,000 that you could withdraw over the entire year.
50,000 yuan between whatever we said it was that date, or the last 3 months, the last quarter of the year. And it was the same amount again for this whole year. Which was at the time it was something like $1,800. Like it wasn't enough. But
it depends.
Yeah.
Greece still got a restriction. I've written here 50 euros a day. I think it's actually 60. So you can't withdraw money from the more than 60 euros a day in Greece. So, again, this is a pressuring factor when people start to question, hang on, why do I need this bloody government currency anyway?
If it's my money and it's in my bank account, why can't I get it?
Yep, it's not your money. That's why it's actually a loan you've given to the bank, and they're going to treat it as their money. So all deposits are theirs. There's with Bitcoin, your money can be your money. You can control it. So all through the European Union, restrictions on cash purchases. So, for example, in France, I think it's something like restriction, so you can only spend $1,000 in cash. So this is like moving towards the same thing, moving towards this cashless society and tightening the grip on your little eggs. And then this didn't actually occur to me till I think Andreas Antonopoulos pointed it out in his speech last month at La BitConf. He said, like, the US has no capital controls, or so it appears. Actually, they have FATCA, this kind of invisible capital control. So it means that if you have money in the US, you want to put it in another bank all across the world, and in any country in the world, you have an American passport, American citizenship, they will not accept it because the US government is threatening those banks to not accept that money. And so if you wake up as a US citizen, you might start to realize maybe your money, again, is not yours.
This is almost new to me. Like, I thought it had something to do with terrorism.
Are you fucking with me? Sure, they'll put restriction on Bitcoin as well and tell you it's to stop funding terrorism. There's a big difference between a PR campaign and reality. Okay, so what's the last point? Easy.
Are we up to number 4?
Yeah.
So I think this is what ties it all together. This is when the average person starts to ask these questions, or starts tuning in to the show and starts going, asking the questions about what is money? How does it? I just want to buy my 6-pack. I just want to watch footy and hang out with my mates. And all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, mate, you can buy your beer with Bitcoin. and I even made some money because I bought my Bitcoin, whatever. Yeah. So we're talking about the increased awareness of cryptocurrencies, in generally just people adopting it, whether you want to invest or whether you're saving your wealth or whether someone tipped you a micropayment. So getting the public consciousness to a level where everyone's trading, at a normal corner store, or can you imagine being down here at the Tianguis and seeing Bitcoin somewhere where they only accept cash and they pull out their iPhone or Galaxy or whatever and bam, there's just send my code, I mean, of course, this will require some kind of internet connection, but when this kind of gets infiltrated where everyone has a electronic wallet of some kind, and I know in Mexico we're making very good ground where the banks here are actually starting to put that into this collective consciousness where you can go down to your Bancomer and it's like on the ATM it has electronic wallet. Of course, you click next and you don't read any of that, but it's there and it's slowly starting to sink in. So there's a few different ways of measuring how we're adopting this stuff. So transactions per day, I think is pretty one I like to look at. I like to see the activity. Even though, a lot of people talk about the price of Bitcoin, it's going down, it's going up. 2013 was a bad year. 2014, no, it was the other way around. 2014, probably the worst year for Bitcoin. 2015, best currency. And we look at the transactions, it's almost exponential.
Yeah. So you can see, we'll put up a link here for the blockchain.info information there, and you can see the number of transactions, like say around the start of 2014, it's like 80,000 a day, whereas in the last few months we're getting more towards say 200,000, 190,000 a day. So that's that's the kind of thing. It's kind of funny because you can look at the price and you're like, Bitcoin's volatile. But if you're in it for the long term, you can see what the trend is. Like these people are transacting more and more, and it's not quite going away in a hurry.
Yeah, and if you're really bored, you can go to blockchain.info and watch it live. The transactions just ticking over. There's at the moment, what is it like? There's almost 200,000 a day. So you're bound to catch a good handful. So I don't know, man. We try and talk about the trigger point. What's going to tip it over the edge? Whereabouts are we? And it's pretty hard to say, but I think irrespective of investment or the banking system, just crushing those nuts. I think it really comes down to...
Is that what they're doing there all day? And they got those big back rooms, big desks, and they just sit there crushing nuts.
Well, isn't that how you get, the nuts on your ice cream?
Right. Now I understand the banking system. Yep.
I don't know what else they do. It's like they watch your money. That's what they do.
With a hawk eye.
So, okay, investment, it's going to help. The collapse of the banking system, it's on its way. It's slowly shuffling the shoulders as it walks through that movie theater.
Yeah, it's kind of a tail risk possibility, or depending who you ask, it's a high probability.
But the cool thing is that the people that are switching onto it aren't the people that have functional Visa, MasterCards. Mm-hmm. They're not people that have jobs that are comfortably living in their house with.
Bitcoiners are a bunch of bums. Is that what you're saying?
Homeless.
Okay.
Once the homeless get Bitcoin, we're on our way. I haven't seen that yet, but if a homeless guy had a QR code, he could change the world.
What I anticipate in the long term, and this is going to be a factor more in the future than right now, but it ties into this concept of public awareness. Say, an ordinary person, an ordinary tax evader, like say a traveler comes to Australia and goes to employer, say a restaurant, and says, "Hey, do you mind if I get this money under the table?" And the employer it's just like a less than 10-person operation, a small business, and they say, "Sure, no biggie. I'll pay you $10, $15 an hour, whatever it is." Now that's kind of accepted, and it's accepted as untraceable, and no tax authority is going to tell you that it's happening, but it happens all the time, and especially in developing countries. All the time. If an employer offers you cash, then why the hell are you going to say no? Like, an extra 10%? Sure, why not? So the thing is, what about other people? How does this extend? How does the creep of controllable money start to come in? And so say you have this example of a software engineer or a programmer, and maybe he doesn't even spend all of his time in Australia. Maybe he's absent from the country a few months in the year, going traveling or whatever, and receives his money by Bitcoin. The Bitcoin has been called digital cash, but it's not exactly accurate because, of course, you can trace every transaction on the blockchain. It's just the question is, to what extent can you trace it? Whereas with cash, pretty much, you hand over that serial numbered bill, and nobody ever sees it again, and nobody knows into whose hands it's gone. Whereas with Bitcoin, you can follow through Bitcoins and see where they're gone, unless you use something like a Bitcoin mixer, like a Bitcoin laundry, if you will, or Dashcoin, which is an altcoin which has built-in anonymity. So the thing is, whenever you use Dash or whenever you use a Bitcoin mixer, it's going to go in with a whole bunch of other coins, and you're going to get approximately the same amount out, but you're going to have these more or less anonymous coins, or very difficult to trace, extremely difficult to trace coins. And the thing is, just in this hypothetical scenario, which of course I would never recommend anybody do ever, pay your taxes, people. Yeah, of course. Everybody in this situation receiving Bitcoin in this situation was saying, well, it's as good as cash. And why declare it? Because the Australian Taxation Office, the IRS, doesn't have the resources or the technical know-how to trace down every transaction similar to cash. So how long is it going to be until you say, actually, I prefer to keep all of my money. I don't want to give money to these people. And like we mentioned before with this public works crowdfunding, in the future, you'll probably have alternatives to local government or state government. You'll be able to fund projects with your friends or with a collective and decide how much involvement you want and how much you want to pay for the service and which one you want to choose. So it's this. What I'm predicting is crypto anarchy. And I think it's a lot closer than what people think. I mean, it's probably going to start out with these, few contractors who are in unique or specialized positions, but then slowly over time, it extends into more and more sectors of the economy.
I think it's a very safe prediction.
Yeah,
because it's common sense, and I'm assuming that people are starting to wake up. They can start making their own decisions and start choosing how they want to live their life, what causes they want to support, what country they want to live in, what kind of job you want to have, what kind of currency you want to use, and where you want that money to go.
Yeah.
So it's simple questions like or ideas like voting with your dollar, which isn't new.
Yeah.
But do you think about that when you make a purchase? I don't know. Depends.
Yeah, some people do. It's called conscious consumerism.
But do you think about that when you pay your tax?
Because people think, I really like the war on drugs. I really like how the US government imprisons millions of black people per year in a kind of nuevo slavery system where they're producing license plates for the government. It really makes me feel good inside when the federal government does that and pays off private prison owners with money that is extracted from your bank account without your consent. Well, okay, maybe there are some people who think that, but
there's always that one.
Yeah.
But what gets me is when you look at your receipt after you buy something.
Yeah.
That's if you go somewhere where they give you a receipt.
Yeah.
And you can see how much tax the component, which usually let's say 10% across the board. Yeah. But usually it's much higher than that. And then you think, well, I already paid tax. Like, do you pay taxes? Yeah, of course I do. I already pay tax. I work, I get paid, and I pay my tax. But then you pay your tax again when you buy something. And then when you sell it, you probably pay tax again. And you think that's a lot of money. That could buy and fix a lot of stuff in my house, in my community, in my family, in my own country. Why are we sending resources across the world to fix a problem that's not ours? Mm-hmm. And these are the questions that begin to trigger in your mind before you start thinking, that guy that won't shut up at work keeps talking about Bitcoin. Mm. And until you have the HR lady or guy that comes to you and says, you want to get paid in crypto? Until that day comes, it's your choice to ask or work out how you're going to do it. I'm hoping that day comes soon.
Yeah.
But then, it depends. By the time that day comes around, there's going to be more rules. I hope not. But, these guys that are having the parties and that are in control, they're not going to let you get away with it unless you know what you're doing, which is why you need to switch on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to bring it back around to talking about the price factor, the thing is, when you make that radical decision, receiving money, and you say, you know what, I want to keep my money. Again, that's increasing the demand for Bitcoins, and then that's again affecting the price. And, I don't expect everybody to jump on board with this crypto anarchist vision right away. But they might start to see the cracks, and they might, a lot of people in the world are going to see the problems with the existing system and say, let's try something new. And that's a shift, I would say, in the next 5 years, probably.
Yeah, it's about making the choice and not following the chain that's around your neck.
Yeah. So I did have there was this article on I mentioned before on Cointelegraph where it had a few speculations on what the price would be like towards the end of 2016, and the general figure was around $1,800, $2,000. That's the kind of figure you might have in mind. There's speculation down as low as 600, and I did see another video as well. What's his name? Tim Draper, the venture capitalist, predicting that Bitcoin will reach $10,000 in the next 3 years, so by around the start of 2019. Those are some ideas. Whatever you do, don't take our word for it, because we're not financial advisors. We're just here to give you a few ideas. Let that percolate through your brain there. Yeah, I
think the ending note is that if you have Bitcoin, you actually have Bitcoin.
Uh-huh.
Like, irrespective of how much it's worth, because these other currencies that you're comparing something almost intangible, as in it's a share or a component in a completely new financial system. So when you have a share in Bitcoin, whether it's a Satoshi or a full Bitcoin or several, that's your money compared to a stake in the debt that your government's racking up. So, I mean, we're talking about completely different things. It's hard to say, it's going to be worth X. One day you might be able to trade one Bitcoin for $10,000 worth of goods. But by that point, how much is $10,000 worth of goods actually going to equate to?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's all about where you'd rather be.
Cool. So have a look, guys. Do your research. Maybe take a step onto the side of the future. So my name's Kurt Robinson.
My name's Aaron Battle.
And head on over to theparadiseparadox.com. You can have a look through our episodes. We've got a lot of Bitcoin videos, interviews with Andreas Antonopoulos, Jeff Bowick, Diego Gutierrez Aldivar, and Tur de Meester. Also, I'll put the link in the show notes. If you're interested in investing in Bitcoin, you can check out Tur's Adamant Research's document on how to get started. And you can head on over to Facebook, press like, hover over the like button, press the get notifications button to stay in contact, reach out and touch us, and jump on over to YouTube, press like, press subscribe, and jump on over to iTunes, press subscribe on there too, leave us a review, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, and on Twitter, I'm at Trouble Bubble.
You can catch me at Battle AZ.
Yep. So also on our website, you can buy some Bitcoin or real money themed T-shirts with gold, silver, and Bitcoin to represent your detest and loathing for the central banking system that is currently incumbent. And you can also join us in Acapulco, sunny Acapulco, Guerrero, Mexico, in February. So head on over to anacapulco.com. ANARCHAPULCO.com, and you can use the code Paradise. You get a 10% discount and have a good time. Join us on the beach. Say hi. We'd like to see you there.
Say hi. We can get high in Acapulco.
Acapulco dream. Yep. All right. See you soon.